Hi, I'm Jay Marks with the Oklahoman, and I'm here with Clarence Cooper, who's an Oklahoma City father who's out to overhaul DHS. So tell us a little bit about what you want to do.
Well, what we're doing is, SQ 745, as it's been, people become aware of it as State Question 745, is a petition that seeks to overhaul the current Oklahoma DHS system with respects to child protective services and a lot of other facets that fall under that umbrella organization.
What would you like? What do you want to see changed with this?
Not only does it seek to overhaul the system, of course, it seeks to re-engage communities, empower the citizens to become a voice of governance for this state. We want to protect the families who need to be protected, because, of course, not every family, not every parent is guilty of abuse. Not every child is authentically abused. But we want to provide a better quality of care and protection for children who do need the services, or family who are in need of the services. Protect the kids who need to be protected. Leave the families who don't need to be bothered alone. Okay. If a family comes to the state because they have a child who has a condition, say, for instance, the Arizona case that's recently come up, a parent says, my child is not eating. DHS shouldn't be automatically taking control of that and then just making things up as they go along so that they can acquire custody or retain custody of the child. They should be offering services to the parent so that the parent can provide a better quality of care for the child who needs the help. On that same token, if there's a child who's not being protected, if there's a child who's being authentically abused, then caseworkers should, not just caseworkers, but caseworkers, judges, doctors, these people should be closely integrated so that they can provide a better quality of care. Properly investigate this. We hear about right now how DHS caseworkers don't get paid enough. They're overstaffed, or they're understaffed, and they're overworked, and there's not enough foster homes. The primary reason for this is because there are an excessively large amount of wrongful separation cases in the system right now. We uncover hundreds more every week. So if we were to eliminate, or at least reduce the amount of wrongful separation or wrongful termination cases which are occurring in this state, we would watch those caseloads drastically decrease, okay. Which would improve quality of care for foster children, improve quality of training for caseworkers. Part of what SQ 745 seeks to do, is that the very first article on SQ 745 is a 37-point criterion-based definition of the best interest of the child, whereas right now it's very ambiguous. Basically, it's what a judge, CASA, caseworker, someone else says. We want for them to have a defined set of criteria so that the child's best needs are taken into consideration. We want for them to determine the best interest of the child based on the least detrimental effect.
Okay. Now, how did you come up with those 37 bullet points that are in your petition?
The 37-point definition, actually, the only one that I really had to edit was number 37. Of course, it wasn't really that great, but the 37-point definition was actually established by a well-practiced sociologist and intelligence analyst, and that's to put it shortly, out of Arkansas, Roger Brown. Really great guy. He's spent 30 years researching the CPS regime. And we call it CPS because it's Child Protective Services. This is not a localized issue, and I'll make that abundantly clear. This happens across the nation. So after 30 years of gathering information, he compiled a 370-page compendium report. We have that. That's going to be available on the website soon. So I spoke with them at length, 3-4 hours not too long ago when I'm, pushing to make change in the system. And I find that 370-page compendium report, and then I said, well, I think it's about time that the people get together and start becoming the voice of governance for this system again. We've obviously have some problems and they're not really correcting it. And he said, well, the funny thing is I have a template legislative petition if you'd like to take a look at it and just glean from it. And I said, absolutely. And I took a look at it and I said, well, this is good. I'll start from here and we'll go on from there and make it work for Oklahomans.
Okay. Now, as far as how did you get involved in this? Why is this such a big issue to you?
This is a very large issue. I mean, it's a very huge issue for me because my family, we'll start by saying, I have a personally vested interest. My family was wrongfully separated by DHS, by OKDHS, both in Custer County and in Oklahoma County over 3 years ago. But when I sat down to really begin driving this, my goal was not to seek reunification for my family. It was to bring about change because we do have a problem. And we have, as communities, we are so separated from one another. We can't really effectively achieve a solution. So the problem gets bigger and bigger. I said, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do it just for my children or for me. I'm going to do it for the other families. I thought I was the only one for 2.5, 3 years. And then when I start doing my research, I find that there are thousands, tens of thousands of other families throughout the nation who deal with the exact same thing. So I'm not alone, and I see a problem, and I want to do something about it, and I want for the people to become aware of this so that they can become educated and empowered and really involved in their communities. And being involved in your community means that you're more dedicated to the needs of the people.
Okay. Now you mentioned your website, which is sq745.com.
sq745.org.
.org. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
And I'm assuming that's got updates. How are you doing on the petition drive right now?
Well, we're actually doing quite well. Since our first story from the Oklahoman was published on the 15th of January, I've fielded close to 2,300 calls. Yes, I don't get a whole lot of sleep.
No, not much at all.
I fielded close to 2,300 calls. We have greater than 200 people throughout the state circulating this petition. We're forming committees within the Drive organization. There's talk of a not-for-profit organization later on in the year, the next year, what have you, so that we can begin to provide more effective community services to members of our communities. Basically lead by example and show the state, look, this can be done if you simply give the people the privileges that they're entitled to. We have, of course, we have the internet presence. As of today, we have greater than 3,500 visitors to the site just in the month of February alone. I'm sure that some of them probably work with DHS, and it's okay. We want them to see that. We're not trying to be secretive. We have the support of the American Family Rights Association, the Oklahoma Family Rights Association, SaveAParent.org, ParentalRights.org is looking at how we can work together to complement one another. Children's Rights Organization. I had a very lengthy conversation with them about the lawsuit. People want to know, and I've got to go back and tell the people something, So we're working on ways to see if how we can work to complement one another. So I have fielded calls from all over the nation, as far north as Washington, as far south as southern Florida. Actually had a nice email conversation with Judge Chinopoulos not too long ago. So we're getting out there. We're getting bigger.
Good. Do you expect to be able to get the target number? By your deadline on this petition?
The target number, we've been getting a lot of that. Do you expect to get the target number? Well, I hope for it. We all hope for it. But I've made this clear from the moment this started, when we formed our first group of 30 people. The minimum number is 117,013 signatures. That's the minimum number. That is not the target number. If we concentrate too heavily on numbers, we lose sight of the primary focus of this drive, of this initiative. The primary focus of this initiative is to reaffirm unalienable constitutional, civil, and basic human liberties, which are afforded to every person in this country, whether they're sovereignly born into it or they're brought into it under citizenship. we have to re-engage our communities, we have to re-empower the people, we have to do what's right for our children so that we can ensure that their lives and their futures are best protected in the best way possible. Now, yes, we want to achieve the number. I think we're relatively close to it right now. We're actually starting a tally sheet system so that we can really start keeping up with that. I prefer to tell everyone, don't concentrate so much on the numbers. Put your blinders on and run your race. We are here to educate. We are here to communicate, educate, coordinate, and facilitate. And it seems to be very effective. If it doesn't go through this time, that's okay. There are a couple of changes I see in the petition that I want to get made, so that basically means that this is an opportunity to do that. I'll go back 24 hours later and refile it with the corrections, and we will continue to drive this until our elected officials and the state and the system on the whole realizes that this is a change that needs to be made. You know, these are the cries of thousands of Oklahoma families, and even perhaps more children, and they need to be heard.
Very good. Glad you came in and updated us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.